Once a powerful German kingdom, Württemberg played a crucial role in Europe's history, only to vanish after World War I. How did this kingdom rise to power? Why was it dissolved? And what legacy did it leave behind? This is the story of the Kingdom of Württemberg, one of the lost kingdoms of Europe. Stay with us as we uncover its forgotten past. The silent rise and sudden fall of Württemberg. In the shadows of Europe's great empires, the Kingdom of Württemberg quietly carved out its destiny between 1806 and 1918, a flicker of royal ambition born from the ashes of an old electorate. As Napoleon reshaped the continent, Württemberg seized the moment, rising swiftly from an electorate into a proud kingdom, draped in ambition and cloaked in the uncertainties of a changing world. Yet, despite its regal title and turbulent path through wars and alliances, the kingdom's story would end not with thunder, but with a whisper. Dissolved in the wake of the First World War, its crown set down as the monarchy fell, leaving only memories in the hills of what is now Baden-Württemberg. Württemberg's winding borders and hidden corners. Cradled in the heart of southern Germany, the Kingdom of Württemberg stretched quietly between the latitudes and longitudes of destiny, its rugged frame reaching 225 kilometers from north to south and 160 from east to west. Winding across 1,800 kilometers of borders, the kingdom's land was a patchwork of forests, rivers, and rolling hills, covering over 19,000 square kilometers. Hemmed in by Bavaria to the east and south, and Baden wrapping around its northern and western flanks, Württemberg clung to the shores of Lake Constance and surrounded the enigmatic Prussian province of Hohenzollern. It was a land defined not just by maps, but by the complicated dance of alliances, geography, and fate, where kingdoms met, clashed, and quietly endured. Kings, crowns, and the dance of power. When Duke Frederick III crowned himself King Frederick I in 1806, it was more than a title, it was the beginning of Württemberg's transformation. Ruthless and ambitious, he swept away the old constitution, merged his fragmented lands and seized church property, all while expanding his kingdom through shrewd alliances and bloody war. By siding with Napoleon, Frederick won lands and glory, but at a terrible price. Of the 16,000 Württembergers sent to Moscow, only a scattered few returned. Yet as Napoleon fell, Frederick deftly changed sides, striking a deal with Metternich to secure his throne and territory. He died amidst political unrest, leaving a crown weighed down by war and silence to his son, William I. Unlike his father, William was a quiet reformer, careful, frugal, and determined to steady the ship. He gave his people a constitution in 1819 and nurtured progress through trade and education. But even he could not ignore the revolutionary winds of 1848. Though violence never came, ideals did, and briefly so did liberal reforms. But when the fervor cooled, William pulled the strings back, restoring the old order with a quiet, iron grip. His reign, long and complex, ended not with glory but with the fading echo of promises once made. The last kings of Württemberg. When Charles I took the throne in 1864, he inherited more than a crown. He inherited a kingdom teetering between loyalty and survival. Bound by tradition, Württemberg stood beside Austria in the Austro-Prussian War, only to face swift defeat, occupation, and a forced alliance with its rival. Yet Charles navigated this new reality with resilience, steering his kingdom into the German Empire while clinging fiercely to Württemberg's autonomy, its posts, rails, and army held close. Though the land knew peace, the political waters churned beneath the surface. His successor, William II, a thoughtful but cautious ruler, inherited a kingdom proud and fractured. Democratic winds grew stronger while royal bloodlines thinned, haunted by the question of succession and religion. Then came the storm of the First World War. When it passed, it swept away not just empires but centuries of rule. On November 30, 1918, with dignity and sorrow, William laid down his crown, ending an 837-year-old dynasty. The kingdom faded into history, its lands reshaped by war and unity into the state of Baden-Württemberg, but its story, rich with power, pride, and transformation, still echoes through Germany's heart. A crown bound by law and the people's voice. Beneath the royal splendor of Württemberg pulsed a kingdom governed not only by bloodlines but by law, its soul etched into the Constitution of 1819, reshaped across decades, and strengthened by a bicameral parliament that echoed with the voices of nobility, clergy, scholars, and commoners alike. Power was shared in theory yet delicately balanced in practice. A king with absolute presence, ministers shaping state affairs, and a legislature representing every tier of society, from the princes of old to craftsmen of new industry. In a daring step, Württemberg led Germany in 1906 with the introduction of proportional representation, giving even the common man a truer voice. The political theater grew tense, parties clashed, and social democrats held the balance as traditions wrestled with change. Yet through reforms and resistance, Württemberg avoided the flames of revolution. It was only when the empire itself collapsed in 1918 that the kingdom quietly dissolved, its constitution folded like a finished script. The monarchy ended, but the machinery of law and governance it left behind became part of the bedrock of modern democracy in Germany.
Faith, learning, and the pulse of a kingdom. In Württemberg, the king was not just a sovereign of state, but a shepherd of souls. As head of the Protestant Church, his authority shaped doctrine and discipline, while councils of clergy and citizens governed with a careful hand. The Catholic Church bowed to Rome but moved at the will of Stuttgart, its bishops tethered by royal decree. Even the Jewish community, organized in 1828, was overseen by state-appointed guardians, faith-regulated, even protected, by power. But belief alone did not define Württemberg. The kingdom took pride in a literate people, with every child expected to read and write, and institutions like the University of Tübingen and Hohenheim's Agricultural College opening doors to higher thought. Women found paths to learning, and even winemakers had their own school. Yet the soul of the state was not only spiritual or scholarly, it was also financial. By the early 20th century, the kingdom's economy pulsed through railways, forests, and mines, its revenue and debt tightly wound together. It paid its dues to the empire, educated its people, and funded its churches with near-equal devotion. In Württemberg, faith, knowledge, and coin were not separate realms. They were the triad that sustained a kingdom on the brink of modernity. The engine beneath the crown. Beneath Württemberg's royal court and glittering titles thrived a network of civil servants and citizens who quietly steered the soul of the kingdom. Names like Weizsäcker, von Neurath, and von Stauffenberg would echo far beyond 1918, their legacy rooted in the disciplined bureaucracy of this southern German state. It was here that statesmen like Matthias Erzberger and Friedrich von Payer first sharpened their resolve in a civil service where loyalty, precision, and reformist vision held sway. Yet the kingdom's heartbeat was not just bureaucratic, it was deeply industrious. By 1910, its soil still fed 500,000 people, but industry was on the rise, drawing hundreds of thousands into factories, workshops, and growing towns like Stuttgart, Ulm, and Heilbronn. From fertile fields to humming machines, Württemberg's people worked with quiet determination, crafting a kingdom whose strength lay not just in royal blood, but in the steadfast hands and sharp minds of those who built it. The kingdom of Württemberg may be gone, but its history lives on. What other lost European kingdoms would you like us to explore next? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story from History Love. Until next time, keep exploring the past.